Welcome back, everybody, to The Creative Moment, Season 9, Episode 6, third straight episode in a different studio than last time. Not sure how often this one will be used. We'll see. It's a fluid situation. But as always, I'm Dante Bullhauer, Jamie Bullhauer, the co-host of this for now 95 episodes. Or 85, one of the two. I never count. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. Today, we're talking about contests and kind of whether you should enter them, whether you should not enter them, just kind of our thoughts on entering
some guidelines
your work.
If you decide, because there's
I haven't just entered enough, so you probably know a lot more about that stuff in terms of publishing and things like that. But that's our topic today. So you have entered quite a few. Well, yeah, different
actually,
contests
this
over the
summer, just this summer, I entered some big contest, and the biggest one is like getting is it Novelry? It's an online learning helping you publish your book, and they're doing a first year. You submit your first 3 pages basically, and first prize is $100,000. I mean, there was an article about it in People magazine and everything. Like, this is a big... but I entered some other... Like, I don't know why. Just this summer, I was like, fine, I'm just going to swing for the fences and enter some of those. Actually, I think I mentioned this before. Under the Lights, I actually submitted to a contest first before I self-published. And that's when I got the feedback that it was not believable because none of the characters cussed.
Which is interesting.
And they do cuss, but I just don't have them say it. I just say, just because I wanted it to be anyway, that's a whole different aspect. But I have sent you links before and stuff like that, and I don't know why you don't seem to be interested in contests to that degree. But there's also, I know, business but some of them have been for your nature photography and things. So what do you think in that regard?
So I've entered a couple way back a few years ago with Rocky Mountain School of Photography. This was before I got my R5 camera. And then I entered a couple other ones. I don't remember what those ones are called. But the prizes for most of them were to win a camera. So I was like, I wasn't good at photography back then. But I think a lot of it is I don't want to go through, because most of my work now is client stuff. The nature stuff obviously isn't. But if it's like a portrait contest or whatever, I don't want to just have to go through the asking the client for permission to use them, doing all this, having to see if I posted that photo before on Instagram, whatever.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a few minutes.
All those different guidelines. The other part is probably just laziness. That is the last thing on my mind. And then another part is just, it's really hard to choose what to submit. If it's one photo or one video, one nature photo, I will have a really hard time picking which one I think will do the best, so to speak. Okay. And it's obviously it's all subjective, it's art, but not knowing if they're looking for more compositional masterpiece or if it's more editing or just a cool scenic shot, doesn't really matter what it is. I've entered a couple kind of not contests, but calendar submissions. Yeah. So I have a photo in Scottsbluff in a Nebraska calendar or something. Stuff like that where you don't win anything. You just...
No, you do get... And there's submissions just for lit magazines and other, and stuff like that. But, the contest part, there's some aspects that, you have to... That's one of the guidelines I was thinking about, or things to consider if you do enter a contest is that you can't hardly any contest is ever something that's already been published somehow anymore. That's in poetry, that's the hard part. It can't even be on your personal blog. It's published, so you have to And that leads to some interesting choices about some works and some things like that. And you are busy. It's not like, so you said lazy, but I'm all like, but you are busy. So that's not, but I'll probably still send you links, because it's always those things about the other aspect of your, more artistic or things along that line. And some people, so now it's like 4 years ago that I got to do that week-long writer's retreat, but had to do it via Zoom for the whole week because of COVID. But in there, two different breakout sessions, and one of the people were like, no, don't enter contests. Don't enter contests. Those are just a waste of time, which is one argument. And then another guy was like, yeah, enter contests, and if you lose or you don't get accepted, get ticked off and work that poem again, or because this was writing the poetry one, and until they can't ignore you. So there's two vibes to that. I personally think that contests are an interesting option. For again this summer. I entered quite a few, but thinking about that is if you decide to enter a contest, and you've already touched upon some of the aspects for that, though, is one, it does cost money. It does. I don't really have a problem with that, though. It's, there's a little bit right now this idea of boycotting even reading fees for just general submissions in the world of poetry and lit magazine, and in the overall scheme of things, I'm like, you know what, you have the right to enter or not, or even to submit. And if they charge a reading fee, a lot of the time, sometimes they give you feedback and other things, but in our world, people are not buying the magazines, they're reading them online and stuff, and so I don't have a problem financially. Okay? Like, if you're going to choose to enter a contest, understand that there's going to be a fee, and sometimes they have scholarships or waivers that you can enter to deal with that. So you do, if you're in the enter a contest, you better be ready, though. You have to pay for it. Okay. The second aspect, and this is a hard part in regard, is knowing the guidelines, which you kind of talked about. And even for the things like the calendar one, there probably was size. It had to be...
I had to compress my photo, actually.
Oh, yeah, probably. Yeah. I was going to say, I bet that they only took megabytes in your...
Yeah, so I had to compress it down to like 20 megabytes, and it was like a 45 megabyte file. So cut the quality in half, but print can only print up to a certain quality anyway, so it probably turned out fine. I saw the digital version of the magazine or the calendar, but yeah, it's like there's just a ton of stuff that you have to have. And part of the reason I get not frustrated, but a little just kind of confused about the it can't be published anywhere rule is, if I want to see what will do best in a contest, one of the ways to see how successful it will be how well it does to the general public audience. And so, like, if I posted like 3 nature photos, whatever, and the top one got like a pretty decent amount of likes, whatever, retweets, all this, that's the one I'm going to want to submit for the contest. But if it can't be published anywhere, I have no idea what anyone's going to think of it.
Yeah.
If it's going to flop, if it's going to do well. So that's the part that I kind of get up in arms about, is I get some of the reasoning why, like, nowadays you can just steal, especially with writing, you can just steal that and say, yeah, I wrote this, whatever. You can screenshot photos, but that's the part where I'm like, I wish that wasn't such a widespread barrier.
Yeah, and then the content, even for publishing and stuff like that, they will tell you what kind of font maybe, or what document some don't do PDFs. They don't want a PDF in the writing world because you can't manipulate it easily. Like, you get a Word document. If I submit my Word document to you, you open up Word, you can and different things like that. So if you're going to enter a contest, you got to know all the guidelines. All of them. The big ones are there's always length. Some contests, the poem can't be more than 25 lines. Means it's one page. Like it has to fit on one page. In your case, compressing a photo down, or it might have to be in landscape versus portrait.
Another one I really hate is a lot of the photo contests make you submit it unedited. And so I get that in terms of photo manipulation, if you're changing a sky out or doing whatever. But for state journalism, I guess that's a contest.
Yeah.
They want their photos unedited. And I can go on and on about state journalism and how much I hate it. But I shoot in a way where I know what edit I'm going to put on it. And so it's underexposed in some spots, it's overexposed, whatever. Like, I have it shot in a way that I know I am going to be changing.
Yeah, you know how you already see the finished product.
Yeah, and so that really bothers me because that is, in my opinion, part of your photo is how you change the lighting or brighten it, darken it, saturate, all the different things. And to have unedited images, I feel like just kind of leaves less potential out there. Because there are a lot of scenarios where you have to shoot underexposed if you want to be able to see the sky and your subject's dark, but you can lighten that up in Lightroom, things like that. And so that's another big hurdle that probably docked me because I just sent in my edited photos anyway.
Yeah.
And whatever. Yeah. 8, just whatever. But that part is one, especially in the photo world, that I think is really just kind of bonkers. And especially with like video where I shoot in log, so it's very gray. If I can't edit the video, it's going to look gray and it's going to look terrible. So that's another guideline that really I don't agree with, but I understand, but I don't agree with that.
Yeah. So no matter what area you're going into or stuff like that, know the guidelines.
Yeah.
And even with that to a degree, and sometimes they'll do this in the lit world is like, hey, check out the past winners, check out our vibe, our voice. And I get that too, but sometimes that also is a personal hindrance, because then I'm like, well, that it's kind of like you're talking about the raw image versus what you have envisioned for the final product, because you get that aspect like, well, that's not my style. I mean, I could talk about I just got accepted again for that Lit magazine, but they're very nature oriented and they are more subject oriented. The form, they don't seem to care. They care about it. It's just, we want you to use this word. And so I'm vibing, but I get to do my own thing, where other times you might read that stuff and go, oh, well, I can't write like that. And I don't know. It's because you can get rejected just simply because you aren't matching their vibe of that part. So that leads though into the other part. If you decide to enter a contest, you have to emotionally be ready to be rejected.
Yep.
I mean, so
you have to be ready to hate whatever wins, because it will. You'll already think it's terrible anyway, but sometimes it actually it's a contest. It is a contest, and they have these guest judges, and the novel one that I entered, it's in People Magazine, US, Us Magazine, because they got some big time authors coming in, and you're only submitting, and for this one, I only submitted the first 3 pages or 1,500 words. That's it. That's all they're judging it on. So even statistically, it's more likely I'd be hit by lightning. Yeah.
And again, they have they'll have 9 finalists in the process. But it's as an artist, it's a hard balance, because you don't want to just go, well, I'm not going to win anyway. Then why enter a contest? Like, if you're just going to be...
It's only going to be one person out of the lot that wins it.
Yeah, that wins this thing anyway. But yeah, to me, and why I entered some big time ones. There's a single poem one that's $5,000 for first prize. And I just like, okay, I'm just doing it. For whatever reason this year, that was my vibe. And I was like, but people are going to read it. It is going to be, read. You're going to get, possible feedback, some other things. But you have to emotionally be ready for that. And then, in fact, I actually got an email last week for one of the big poetry ones. But I got, accepted by 2 other magazines, just submissions, So you got to be ready. You got to be ready for the rejection.
Yeah. And I think a big, just kind of, if you haven't entered any contests or don't really know what that kind of realm looks like, a big thing to like keep in mind when you're starting out, try to enter the ones that do give you like feedback.
Yeah.
Like a real
and
judge
they'll tell
gives
you that. They will tell you that. Hey,
because if you just get the rejection letter like, hey, you didn't win, whatever, you're like, okay, well, I don't know why you didn't like it, why that. So if you're starting out, or even just if you like entering contests, the ones that give feedback are really helpful, because then you kind of know, okay, this is what they were at least looking for.
And you get to do what you want to as the artist with the feedback. At least because like with Under the Lights, I didn't change it. I didn't make them start cussing out loud in dialogue. I just kept it like he walked off the sideline under his breath, with that. So they still cut, but I chose not to change that. Yeah. And, it's always gotten good reviews from readers and, and stuff like that. And, that's a whole nother debate about the cussing part, but it's just like, but I got the feedback and I can understand, I understood what they were doing.
Like with state journalism, I think they started adding it. But my senior year, I didn't get any feedback. I just got, you either placed here or you didn't place, whatever. And it's just weird because I don't know. All I can base off of what they were thinking is by the people ahead of me on, the podium. Yeah. And so when I look at first place and it's just an ice cream cone that says ice cream, you scream, ice cream. And then mine was like really busy and theirs was really simple. I'm like, well, if I would have known you were looking for simplistic or whatever. Yeah. So it's a gray area when you don't get any feedback on why you did well or didn't do well. And that kind of leads to some frustration in points. But yeah, if you enter the contest that give you the actual feedback, whether it's one line or a paragraph on what you did, I think that's helpful in understanding that rejection a little better.
Yeah, which then helps you improve, or you get to make the choice. Yeah. In my case, the last thing is there are all kinds of contests. There's an Ernest Hemingway one, and you gotta, if you really want to do some of that. Submittable is a good place to find them. Even Facebook, will do that. Like, there's a ton of places. Don't, though, if you're just starting out, choose 1 or 2 maybe to enter. I personally I like entering them. I'd save up some of our coupon money and stuff. And you use that. I hadn't last summer. I don't think I entered any contest. Now I submit for reading, but this summer I just like I'm swinging for the fences a little bit, and you never know. Yeah, and you never know. It's kind of there are people who a contest or so like got them started, got their name out there, because it's hard if you. The other part, the positive I like about content, it is hard if you're on your own doing indie stuff, self PR and all that. It's hard to get. It's just hard. So if by chance you enter a contest, however small or whatever, and you get the top 10 or something like that, that poem or that photo or something like that, it gives you a little traction. Okay, but you got to have money. And I don't know if I've ever come across a serious big contest that didn't cost a entry fee. With that, know the guidelines. They are really strict with the guidelines. Like overall, in those cases and stuff, you're going to have to choose some of the work you don't have feedback on, because That's just our world. It has to be unpublished. I mean, even the reading, just the submissions for lit magazines. Every once in a while, lit will do a already published readings timeline, but it's going to be work.
Yeah.
That nobody had, like, you're not going to have any fear. So that's also interesting, and have a little fun. I'm balanced. If I don't win it, I don't win it, but it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, don't take it too serious. I mean, again, art is so subjective that it just might come across the wrong eyes or the right eyes, and that might be the difference.
Yeah, do not hang your success on winning a contest.
Yeah.
I see it as a chance. It's out there. People are reading it. Especially if you do get feedback. Give feedback if you can with that, because that will help you grow.
Yeah. So overall, I hope we steered you leaning towards entering contests.
Yeah, at least.
There are pros and cons, just like anything.
Yeah. But even I think it's cool to think like that calendar one was Scotch Bluff, is what you said. Like those people are seeing like that at the end of the day. If you win it or you don't or something, like your art is gone out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's similar in ways to posting on social media. You're just looking for feedback, but you have an incentive. So
yeah, and sometimes it is really they award up to one contest I entered. They actually have 10 winners, and it's just kind of pyramid down a little bit. Like first prize was like $500, and then it just goes down. And so even if you're in the top 10, you basically get enough back to pay for your entry fee.
Yeah.
But you're also listed, as a winner.
Yeah. So with that, this was The Creative Moment, Season 9, Episode 6. The studio situation is fluid.
This is the season of the different studios.
Yeah, we didn't have a plan for the studio. Well, I mean, it's just a lot of stuff happened in the last month or so. But thanks, as always, for watching or listening. Again, we're on all the platforms. Anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find The Creative Moment. So thanks again, and we'll see you guys in a couple weeks.